Hollywood has always peddled us a dream. The bright lights, the red carpets, the perfect smiles of film stars who seem bigger than life. But behind the lens, out of the flashing lights, the picture has often been a lot bleaker. Some of cinema's most iconic stars were concealing tempers so volatile, so combustible, that they traumatized co-stars, frightened crew members, and brought whole productions to the brink of disaster. Hollywood publicity machine worked overtime for decades to cover it up. Studios paid millions to settle lawsuits and sand over scandals. But the truth has a way of escaping, and the myths of Hollywood's most notorious tempers are now entrenched in industry legend. These were not actors having a bad day. These were cycles of rage and volatility so intense they defined careers, tore apart relationships, and forever changed reputations. Today, we lift the veil to reveal the tales that rarely were seen by fans. The tantrums, the attacks, the harangues, and the destruction that ensued when some of Hollywood's biggest stars flipped out. If this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started. Consider Christian Bale, for example. When people think of Bale, they recall his astounding shifts from the skeletal, sleep-deprived lead in The Machinist to the menacing Patrick Bateman in American Psycho to the armored Dark Knight who mourned over Gotham. But in 2009, Bale's image was dealt a huge blow after an infamous on-set meltdown for Terminator Salvation. All it began with was cinematographer Shane Hurlbut mistakenly stepping into Bale's eye line during an intense scene. What ensued was a 4-minute rant so fiery, so foul-mouthed, that it left even seasoned crew members stunned. Bale yelled more than 44 words, threatened to quit the film altogether, and demanded Hurlbut be immediately replaced. Once he yelled, "Do you want me to destroy your lights? Do you want me to destroy him?" His rage wouldn't dissipate, even when the director attempted to soothe him. Fans were shocked when the tape was leaked to the public. The sleek Batman had shown a frightening side that few were familiar with. Bale apologized later, saying his character immersion had reached excess, but rumors quickly began circulating on other sets, accounts of the same temperamental problems, silenced by studios unwilling to risk their investment. The question remains, is Bale's genius worth the collateral harm of his blow-ups? Numerous directors appear to believe so, because in spite of his reputation, he keeps getting offered high-level parts. Edward Norton provides another intriguing example. An actor of unquestionable talent, Norton is also notorious for being almost impossible to work with. His stint as Bruce Banner in The Incredible Hulk is the stuff of Hollywood legend, not for the movie itself, but for the wars behind it. Norton rewrote extensive parts of the script without permission, clashed with director Louis Leterrier on creative decisions, and insisted on final cut rights, a luxury reserved for seasoned directors, not actors. Marvel Studios eventually dropped him, with Kevin Feige diplomatically explaining that they wanted someone who had creativity and collaboration. In the know, insiders had a better idea. Norton's merciless perfectionism had brought the production to a standstill. This was no one-off. On American History X, Norton clashed so hard with director Tony Kaye that the director attempted to have his name stripped from the film altogether. When the studio took Norton's side, Kaye's indignation reached a point of such ridiculousness that he brought a rabbi, a priest, and a monk to a session to bless his complaints. Norton's status as a control freak has followed him since. Even when he worked with someone as detail-oriented as Wes Anderson on Moonrise Kingdom, journalists openly speculated whether the two perfectionists would butt heads. To most, Norton is an actor whose great talent is too expensive. Then there is Russell Crowe, whose infamous temper almost ended his career several times. In 2005, the Oscar-winning star of Gladiator made news around the globe after throwing a phone at a hotel concierge in New York after a call to his wife did not go through. The attack left the concierge hurt and Crowe in handcuffs. But this was not an isolated incident. On the Gladiator set, Ridley Scott had difficulty keeping his star under control, who regularly refused to say lines he did not like and brought production to a halt until rewrites were complete. Crowe has also refused to work due to discontent about food on set. During the 2002 BAFTA Awards, he assaulted producer Malcolm Jerry backstage for interrupting his acceptance speech, reportedly holding him against a wall and threatening to kill him. These outbursts created a portrait of a man whose unpredictability was as well known as his ability. Even insurance companies started including special provisions in policies for his erratic behavior. And still, like Bale and Norton, Crowe continued to be hired for starring roles because when his fire was directed properly, it produced unforgettable performances. Sean Penn may be Hollywood's most infamous hothead. In the 1980s, his temper was the stuff of legend, especially during his tumultuous marriage to Madonna. His disgust with paparazzi overflowed repeatedly. In one anecdote, he is said to have suspended a photographer from a hotel balcony by his feet. In another, he attacked a photographer and spent more than a month in prison. On the Casualties of War set, Penn reportedly harassed co-star Michael J. Fox in the interests of method acting, confusing performance, and outright cruelty. Even years later, Penn's fury did not abate. In 2009, he was arrested on battery and vandalism charges after he attacked another photographer. Years later, the legend surrounding Penn changed from hot-headed violent one to brooding artist, but the wounds he inflicted on those around him are undeniably true. Comedy wasn't immune to tempers either. Chevy Chase, the Saturday Night Live darling, became comedy's nastiest star. His tendency to mock co-stars, at times with racist remarks, led to constant brawls, including a physical fight with Bill Murray in SNL's Backstage. On the TV show Community, his antics became unbearable. He fought with Donald Glover and Yvette Nicole Brown, made racially insensitive comments, and even once employed a racial slur during a heated fight. Ultimately, Chase's career came crashing down due to his own actions. Unlike Crowe or Penn, Chase was unable to hide cruelty beneath intensity. Audiences shut off and roles were scarce. Faye Dunaway was another actress whose rage became industry legend. Renowned for her work on Bonnie and Clyde in Chinatown, she achieved an equally enduring reputation for being almost impossible to get along with. Crew members would speak about her tantrums, her insistence that no one ever look her in the eye, and her explosive mood swings. She once allegedly threw urine at an assistant. On Sunset Boulevard rehearsals, she was so disruptive Andrew Lloyd Webber scrapped the whole production instead of having to put up with her. Even Roman Polanski had disagreements with her on Chinatown, once pulling out a hair from her head when she requested direction. Dunaway's intensity delivered unforgettable performances, but offstage it inspired terror more than awe. No Hollywood Tempers list would be complete without Klaus Kinski, arguably the most unstable actor ever. His work with Werner Herzog generated masterworks, but the accounts of what happened off-camera read like war dispatches. For Aguirre, The Wrath of God, Kinski shot an extra for being too rowdy with a rifle and grazed one man. Herzog himself confessed to threatening to kill Kinski if he even attempted to leave the production. The native extras even volunteered to kill Kinski for Herzog. On Fitzcarraldo, he raged every day, sometimes attacking other cast members with weapons. While most of the others on this list tried to conceal their temper, Kinski didn't bother, advertising his violence in his autobiography, thrilled by the mayhem he unleashed. Even to this day, critics argue whether his acting was a performance or just raw madness. Alec Baldwin is the contemporary face of Hollywood's anger issue. From his very public voicemail calling his daughter a rude, thoughtless little pig to being tossed off an American Airlines flight after a meltdown, Baldwin's anger has always spilled over into the public eye. He's been arrested for fights, caught on camera yelling obscenities at paparazzi, and charged with violent altercations. Baldwin has admitted to having an anger problem, but despite efforts to get some help, new scandal continues to surface. But as with others before him, Baldwin's uncontestable ability continues to draw him back onto the stage. Tommy Lee Jones doesn't blow up at people with guns, but his chilly disdain has made him just as notorious. He sent Jim carry packing with the immortal words, "I cannot sanction your buffoonery," in Batman Forever. Will Smith acknowledge their tension working together on Men in Black is Strained, with director Barry Sonnenfeld having to act as peacemaker? Jones frequently shuts down interviews he finds stupid, often walking out mid-question. His coldness terrifies reporters, but his gravitas on screen ensures directors keep calling. Shia LaBeouf is yet another cautionary story. From child stardom to public breakdown, LaBeouf's fall has been marked by arrests, erratic behavior, and outlandish performance art. His inebriated arrests, outspokenness at Broadway performances, and extreme method acting such as self-mutilation and refusal to shower tricked the boundaries between commitment and destruction. Unlike some, LaBeouf's fury seems to be entangled with trauma and mental illness, so his tale is less about hubris and more about pain gone unchecked. Bill Murray is adored by the public, but to his peers he is hell. From his fist fight with Chevy Chase at SNL to his on-set yelling at Lucy Liu on Charlie's Angels, Murray's temper has been an open secret for years. Recently, filming on Being Mortal was suspended altogether after a complaint about his conduct, evidence that even iconic legends are no longer above retribution. Even Jennifer Lopez, while not violent, has gained a reputation for diva-like behavior that frequently tips over into cruelty. From making impossible requests of all-white dressing rooms to yelling at flight attendants at charity functions, tales of her temper have dogged her for years. While some attribute it to perfectionism, others believe it is a poisonous culture of fear around her. The question is, why is Hollywood continuing to tolerate this? Partly it's economics. Russell Crowe might have beaten up a concierge, but his movies made billions. Studios calculated that his antics were worth the gamble. Partly it's artistry. Christian Bale's rage creates unforgettable performances. Klaus Kinski's craziness generated cinematic lightning. And partly it's us, the public. We say we hate bad behavior, but tales of meltdowns generate clicks, gossip, and intrigue. We perpetuate the cycle, but the times are a-changing. Back in earlier decades, performers such as Penn and Crowe were able to rage unopposed because there were power imbalances to insulate them. These days, social media, workplace protections, and public outrage ensure that stars pay dearly. Productions can be halted, deals terminated, reputations destroyed overnight.